Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to my FlossTube channel. This is Savory Sewing. You can also find me on Instagram at Savory Sewing. Today is Sunday, April 6th, 2025, and this is FlossTube number 47. Hope you are all having a lovely April so far. It is finally been sunny and nice here, and I have been getting into all of the gardening. I think when we spoke, when I filmed last, I'd finally gotten to mow my lawn. And now, unfortunately, now I've had to mow my lawn like 80 million times since then, because that is what spring does. Warm weather and nice rain means all the grass. But my flowers are finally blooming. So I'm going to put some photos in here because they're pretty and I want to share them with somebody. My partner's over it. He's like, yeah, that's a tulip. Really nice tulip. Great. And I'm like, but it's a tulip. But anyway, so my front flower beds are finally doing something. We've got the tulips blooming. My dog is very helpful in the garden, let me tell you. He likes to pull out plants that he's not supposed to and also break down sticks, which is very helpful. He's also desperate to get a bee. This boy's never getting a bee. He's not fast enough to ever, catch one. He's got a lot of good qualities. Speed is not one of them. But that doesn't stop him from trying very, very hard. And like, he goes on full, puppy alert every time he hears a bee buzzing. So it's very cute. So some photos here of my dog being adorable in the sunshine. Yeah, so that's what's going on here. And that's all that's going to be going on here. If it's not grass stitch related for the rest of the summer, it will be me talking about my garden. So hopefully y'all don't mind. If you don't know, if you haven't been here for a minute, plants are my background. I grew up on a farm, always wanted to do something garden and or plant related. All my degrees are in various forms of plant science, and that is what I do for a living. I'm not a nursery person, but I am a plant pathologist. I have a PhD. I'm a plant doctor. I'm better at killing like houseplants than I am taking care of them, but plant diseases are my thing. So gratuitous garden stuff will be happening on this channel, and I hope you like it. If you don't, I'm not stopping. Anyway, let's talk about stitching. So it is the first week of April, so we are going to, let's see, what do I got for you today? We're going to wrap up March. I've got a finish and a fully finish, and I'm going to do a little Halloween Stitchy WIP Parade because in April I stitch Halloween. I've been doing this since 2021, not for any good reason except that I don't have a ton of spring stitching. I'm not an Easter person. Despite what I just said about loving flowers, I don't really stitch a ton of florals. They're lovely, but I would rather stitch spooky. And so April seemed like a good month to do that. So I'm going to do a Halloween WIP parade. I have, I think, 16-ish Halloween WIPs. Some of them I've worked on, but I'm just going to do a little WIP parade. I'm going to show you, I think there's like one WIP that's non-Halloween that I've worked on in the last 2 weeks. So I'll show you that. And then I've got a new start planned, several new starts planned, and a tiny bit of haul, which I've forgotten in the other room. So maybe I'll just tell you about it. It's not very exciting, but I did get some haul. And that's going to be a FlossTube video. So let's start with what happened at the end of March. I'm going to put some graphics in here. I stitched 28 out of 31 days in March. I worked on 19 different projects, 6 new starts, and 5 finishes. And so there'll be a photo here of my 5 finishes. 2, I guess I'll show you in here. So this is the spoiler of 2 of those finishes. Though if you follow me on Instagram, all this has already been posted. So that was March. March was my birthday month, so it was stitch whatever you want. So it was a little bit of a random month, but whatever. Every month is a little bit of a random month. Also, we're only stitching things that we want, right? So don't we always get to pick? I struggle with this, right? There are themes, but there's also like, I'm stitching whatever I want. So, but anyway, I do like a little bit, maybe a lot bit of structure. But anyway, let's look at my fully finish because it's super awesome, I think. And it's right behind me. you've been actually looking at it this whole time. So this is from Donna from Stitch X Love. This is actually a free pattern on her Ko-fi. There's a link on my Instagram, I think, and there's a link, there'll be a link down below. Vintage crafts, not vintage values. I absolutely love this so much. The chart doesn't have the bottom row of Quakers. I added those because I wanted it to fit in a frame. And so what I did is I took I flipped it both ways, I think. Although it actually didn't matter if I flipped up and down because they are, what's the word? They're symmetrical. So basically flipped it, stuck it here, stitched them a little bit differently. So you can see like this motif and this motif are the same. What did I stitch this on? This is 14 count lamb's wool Aida. Really wanted it to feel vintage, and the flosses are all classic colorworks. I matched them to my Pyrex because, you know, as one does. And I ended up using a full classic colorworks conversion. I'm gonna grab it for you right now in case you want to know what classic colorworks match well with pink and blue Pyrex. I used Tennessee red clay as my pink, and I used Caribbean waters as the teal or the turquoise. They're not perfect, but they were the best that I had. And then I also used Ladybug for a little red accent. This is not a great Pyrex red. The Pyrex is really, I just dropped, hang on, I dropped a floss, hold on. Ouch, and I hit my head on my laptop. Hope you enjoyed that clunk. The red Pyrex is more like a true tomato red, so it's a little bit more orangey, but this was pretty. And then I used Trail Dust for the words. So here it is again. And if you want a DMC, I think these DMC are actually really great. This is Shell Pink, which is Shell Pink Light 223 at 959, Sea Green Medium. These are real good DMCs, in case, you know, you needed to know that. But how good is this? So go get this. If you go to Stitch X Love, there's an underscore between Stitch underscore X underscore Love on Instagram. There's a direct link to her Ko-fi. Give her a few bucks. It is free, but you know. And this frame, I found it at TJ Maxx for $7, and I thought it was perfect. I wanted something brown to go with this, and it's got a black and a gold, which is a little bit much, but I think it looks perfect. Anyway, it's gonna live here so you guys can watch it. You can ogle it for the rest of the video. All right, so that was my only fully finished object, and I finished that in March, and then I fully finished it on April 1st. So it's an April fully finish. And then my other finish was the Stitch for Pride 2025 April motif, no, March motif, which is here. I'll show you the whole thing because it's pretty. And then here is the March motif, this really cool dragon on the sword. This is by D's 20 Stitches. This is the 2025 Stitch for Pride spot motif sampler. Every month there is a different motif honoring a trans, non-binary person non-binary person from history. And this is, hang on, I gotta remind myself how to say it. Shu Jin. I had to listen to, I'm really bad at pronouncing things that I can't wrap my head around how they're spelled. I'm one of those person who has to read something to say it. And sometimes other languages are really hard for me. And so I listened to the YouTube pronunciation of this like 80 times, and it's really hard. It's hard. That's one. I'm not a listener and a regurgitator. I am a read the thing and then say it out loud person. Languages are hard. Anyway, not making excuses, but I am making excuses. How beautiful is this? This is stitched on 36 count Gray Magic from Bestitch Me. And my floss is by Dying for Sass in the color Wisdom. And mine obviously is completely monochromatic, unlike the Called For, which has a different dyed floss by Algie Ross for each of the motifs. There's also a DMC conversion, and each of the flosses is inspired by something from nature, basically. Yeah, something from nature, because you needed a dye from where each of these folks lived or when they lived. So anyway, the next month is out. I'm going to put a picture in here because I might as well talk about it, and then I won't bring this out again. So my plan is to finish stitch this, and I will admit I've not done any of the learning yet, but here is what the pattern looks like. And I know it goes, I know they're a Native American, and I know it goes right here, and that's as far as I got. I will do the learning when I stitch. So that's Stitch for Pride. That is my only other finish in the last couple weeks. And I did work on a bunch of WIPs. So I'm going to show you my one non-Halloween WIP. And we'll do new starts at the end. And then I'm going to go right into my WIP Parade. And so the one non-Halloween spooky WIP that I worked on was The Fourth Day of Christmas by Hello from Liz Mathews. And here is what, it's not going to be very exciting. Well, actually, no, I started this little bird. This is actually really pretty. Otherwise, I've just been filling in this giant banner, and it is literally the boringest stitching ever. But it's also great boring work meeting stitching. So that will come like all the way down here. So I need to put world in, and then this tan color goes all the way down, and then there's a birdie here, there's another bird, and the border and what have you. So I worked on this, I think, on like the 24th and the 25th. I had a boring work meeting one day, and it got a few lines of that in. So that is one WIP that I worked on in March. Now, who is ready for a Halloween WIP parade? I'm going to put right here a picture of my April plan. No, will I put it here? Yeah, I'm going to put it here. My picture of my April planning thing is, it lists all of the WIPs that I'm about to show you. However, I'm not showing you them in the same order as they're listed here because they are in the order in which I ironed them, and I did not compare them. So anyway, so I'm going to be working on all of these WIPs. They're all going to get at least a day in April. And I just showed you Stitch for Pride 2025. That needs to get started. I'm going to start All Souls Veerlanden. That's my April planned start with Lindsay from One Cat Crafting is going to restart hers. So we're going to start that, I think, sometime this week. We haven't picked a date yet. And then my WIP Go calls, but I'll talk about WIP Go at the end. So that's my April plan. Now, WIP Parade. And these are all here and neatly ironed. This is the pile. There's just a pile. Look how beautiful. Look at all those pretty colors. Very muted, but I feel like I'm a muted, colorful flat fabric person. I'm cool with that. Okay, so in no particular order, other than the pile on my lap. And I do have some of the flosses over here in the pile, and so I'll show them to you. I mostly remember all of the details. I do not remember, I remember the years in which they were started, but not maybe anything more useful than that. But I'm cool with that. Okay, so first on our list, I'll put a picture in, I'll show you where I am, and I'll talk about them a little bit. So this is Witch by Lottie Da. I started this sometime in 2024. This might have been my October Friday the 13th start, but I don't remember. And this is where I am. This is stitched on. This is Silver Fox. What is it? 36 count, 40 count, 40 count, 40 count. And the floss is Bog Witch from Pirate and Robin. So here's the whole skein. It's blue and a little bit of green. The green is not as peacocky as it's popping there in the camera, but it's really pretty. And I think it looks really gorgeous on this fabric. So this will get a day. Look at that little cat. So cute. WIP number 1. WIP number 2 is this one. This is from Emma Congdon, also known as Stitchrovia. This was in a magazine. I know this is also now available on as a PDF. And it's called Midnight Magic. And here's mine. It says, everything is better with a little magic. I'm stitching this on Wicked Nights. It's a 32 count Lugana from Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. All the called for DMC. The only change I made is I filled in the ghosty spaces. And you can see I've started the word magic. I did make a mistake here. And so I'm debating, I think I can budget, but those letters, they take for freaking ever. I thought this was going to be finished in, I think maybe January. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be done this month. No, it's not. But it is on my list of things that I want finished this year. So it does need some love. But look, it's good. I really love this pattern. All right. Next is a bit of a problem child. And I took some photos. I'm going to pop them in here when we talk about this and see if folks have ideas. This might have to get UFO'd, which I don't really want to do, but reasons. Okay, so this is Silhowitches Quaker by Teresa Kogut. And I really love a Halloween Quaker. This is not the only one you're going to see today. This is where I am on this. So I started in the bottom. Actually, I think I started in the center and I worked down to that corner. This is also on Lugana from Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. I think it's called Queen Crepe Myrtle. It was a fabric of the month. It is a pretty lavender green model situation. The reason why I thought it was perfect for this is that there is 2 colors in here. There's this black brown variegated and a green and the green and the green. I thought they went really well together. I'm stitching this 2/2 on 32 count. Now in the pattern, I have a hair in my eyelid. Oh, excuse me for 1 second. All right, I think we're okay. Calls for 3 skeins of the black brown. So I bought 3 skeins. The model stitched 1/1 on 40 count. 3 skeins is not enough. This is how much I have left of this. And you can see I am a little over a quarter maybe done, maybe. So I ordered more of this. I ordered 3 skeins from 123 Stitch. And I'm going to put a picture in here that I took. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it as well as I can, but basically 1 skein is close-ish and the other 2 are not at all. So even though I purchased 3 skeins at the same time, the 3 skeins that I purchased are not in the same dye lot, and they're definitely not, any of them, the same dye lot as this. So that is why we might be in big trouble. I think the 1 skein is the closest one. I can make it work. The other 2 definitely shouldn't use because the one that is closest is warmer, and then the other 2 get a little bit cooler, I feel. Again, my color, like that kind of thing is hard for me, but anyway, if the pictures here if there will be pictures here, if I feel like I can show you this and tell you what is different. So anyway, this was also called for WIP Go this month. It hasn't been worked on yet. It's supposed to get 3, I think it's supposed to get 2 days or 3 days, 2 days, I think. I'm torn between not stitching on it all until I get the floss sorted or just going for it and hoping for the best. I might have to take it up to Acorns and Threads and like pull all of these off the wall, like grab this floss and like see what their current dye lot looks like and see if I can find some or just switch dyers altogether. I don't know. Anyway, I really like it. That's not the problem. The problem is me just, you know, I started this in 2022 and, you know, didn't think about these things. So anyway, that's the problem with Silhowitches Quaker. Lovely pattern. I don't want to restart it. That's the other thing, is I'm not going to restitch it if I don't finish this. Like, that's a lot of stitching. I don't know. All right. What's next in the pile? Oh, next in the pile is Salem 1692 sampler from Witch's Garden Crafts. I'm sure you may be sick of hearing me talk about my indecisiveness around this pattern. It was also supposed to get like 2 or 3 days of WIP Go last month, and it did not even get touched. here's where I am. You've seen this. I didn't even have to re-iron this because it was still nice and neat from when I showed it, I think, in maybe my last video or maybe the video before. I don't remember. It is being stitched on steel from Pictureless Plus by Royal Whim, one of those two, and not the called for. Some of the called for DMC, some subbed fancy flosses. And here's where I am. It needs a lot of days. It needs to get finished, but it also might get put in timeout because clearly I've been ignoring it. And it's the reason why my WIP board is currently a giant fail. Oh, that's okay. They can all be, you know, it was my favorite child for a while, and now it's just, you know, it's in timeout. Okay. All right, my next WIP is, ooh, another Halloween Quaker. This is Enchanted Quaker from Luminous Fiber Arts. This is one of my favorites. This I started, I think, in 2023. And I am just slowly stitching my way through this. I'm stitching this. Here it is. It's going to fit on this fabric. You can see that there's a little bit of a crease in the middle of my fabric, that this motif is the center. So I'm about halfway done. I'm stitching this with DMC 413, and this is hand dyed by Rolanda in the color, it's not olive. I don't remember, but it's hand dyed by Rolanda. And I really, really like it. I like the motifs. I think it's a really well done Quaker. It's a little bit cute and quirky. And I really wanted the fabric to, you know, be the stars. That's why I chose just a DMC instead of a overdyed variegated. This already got worked on this month. And so I finished the witch. And I worked a little bit on this motif. So it probably won't come out again. But it's awesome. All right. Next in my pile is another fabric piece that I absolutely love. This is All Hallows Eve sampler from Joan Elliott. I saw a model of this at Shepherd's Bush in Utah almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago in August, and fell in love with their model and bought it immediately. I started this with Stephanie from Frolic Knits, who I have not seen on Flosstube in a while, but hopefully she comes back. We started this in October of 2023, right? Yeah, 2023. And here's where I am. Got that big center motif done, and what I've got worked on this time is the boring bits. I finished this band here, went down and started on this band here. It was also great. I think this is great TV stitching. I think I wore stitched on this while we were watching Reacher, and so it was great. So the fabric is called Eerie, and it's Forbidden Fiber Co. It's a 36 count. I love this Forbidden Fiber Co. Please dye more of this. Thank you. And the floss is also Forbidden Fiber Co. It is chalkboard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's chalkboard. And the yellow is also a Forbidden Fiber Co. It was a one of a kind. And then the only other change I made is all the color details on this are supposed to be yellow. That's what they're charted. I decided to add a little bit of green to bring up the green that's in the fabric. So the buttons are green. No, buttons are yellow. The hat band is green, and then their socks are green. I don't know if there'll be a lot of other green in here. I haven't gotten that far yet. There's a haunted house down here. And then there's an alphabet. And then the other interesting thing about this is I made a gross counting error, and I blame my partner because, so this was 2023, and, you know, COVID was still in the air, and he decided to go to a bachelor party and came home from Vegas. Gave me COVID, and I had to start this. And so I'm blaming COVID, the bachelor party, my partner, and the day quill I was on, because I did not start this in the middle. And so this is how much I counted up. So where this floss is here, that's how much margin I have on the top if I stitch the whole alphabet. And so there's still a little bit of me who's debating putting words up there instead of the alphabet. so that I have a little bit more margin. But I feel like I can stitch all of this before I need to make that decision, and that's going to take me a while. But sorry, I'm staring at this because I don't often get to you don't always get to look at your whole piece. Like, it looks different in a camera than it does when you're just hyper focusing on the boringest stitching ever, right? So good. Oh my gosh, I love these. I like all of these Joan Elliott's that are of this style. But the Halloween one is obviously my favorite. All right. Okay, that was a lot about that. Oh, my arm is a little tired. Whew. A lot to hold up there. Let's take a coffee sip break while I get the shake out my arm. Okay, next is this one. This is called Make Your Own Magic, and I think it's Bobbins and Broomsticks. It's an Etsy shop. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And I am stitching this on, here it is. This is Forbidden Fiber Co. as well. I'm pretty sure it's called Dovetail. It's just a nice gray. And that was strategic because look at that floss. This is the famous Gothic Raspberry from Pirate and Robin. Look at that. Oh, so good. Oh, can you tell I like my Halloween pieces, except for Salem 1692 sampler, which is in timeout. The rest of them are just making me so happy right now. All right. Next. Oh, I should probably show you. Whatever. Order. Stitcher's Grimoire from the Witchy Stitcher. I started stitching this when it was released on her Patreon. You can now get the chart. And here we are. Look at that dirty, grungy fabric. This was a Forbidden Fiber Co. No, a Fiberlicious Yummy Fiber Fabric of the Month from 21 or 22. I started this in 2023. The fabric I think is called a Tumnel Orchard or something. It's not available. It's just a nice dirty fabric. And then I'm stitching it with the called 4DMC mostly. The black I did sub and over dyed. I don't remember which one. I'm sure it's Forbidden Fiber Co. something, probably chalkboard. And then there are some over dyed subbed in. I'm pretty sure the dark red is an over dyed and not whatever it was called for. Yeah, you see how good that cauldron looks in the over dyed. So all I have left to do is this page of the book and to do all of this fill-in of the pages and a little bit of work over here. I really want to finish this year, and this is actually a finish goal for this month. So I am going to work on this a lot in the next couple weeks because I want to finish this because I want to start the one that she just released in Patreon. It's got a little girl. It's called Samhain something. I'll put a picture in here. Anyway, I want to start that one, but I decided I needed to finish this first. I don't, but I'm going to. All right, next is another witchy pattern. This is by Kathy Barrick. This is Witch Training Academy. This was a Nashville release in 2024, maybe? Must be, because that's when I started it. And yeah, this is one of the 3 pieces I bought at Nashville that year. And here's where I am. I got the witch done, except, well, her skirt needs to be filled in the rest of the way. But I am stitching this on, this is Heather from Picture This Plus. And I did sub, the black is not DMC 310, and the hair is an over dyed. I don't remember what. And I think that's all the subs I made. I need to, there's some purple accents in here, and I still haven't picked the purple. Like her skirt, I did all the black stitching, but every place where you can see the fabric, that needs to be stitched. So I need to do that. I really like this. I'm excited to stitch. There's a whole bunch of little witches around the big witch, and I'm excited to stitch those. That moon is going to take a hot minute though. I I really like this one. I'm like a broken record. Just tolerate me, folks. Thank you. All right. And then, ooh, it's like every time I look down, it's like a happy surprise, even though I know all of these. So next one I've worked on actually in the end of March because I wanted to get this, I would like to get this one done too. This is Brew Crew from Counting Puddles. This was also a 2024 Nashville release. I absolutely love this pattern. I did make a color palette change. You can see it's I don't want to say it's springy, but it's a little bit more cheerful and pastel than my version. So I kind of did a moodier version. I basically pulled all the DMC and then kind of picked a moodier over-dyed counterpart. So here's my floss. This is a mix of Classic Colorworks and Roxy, and there's a Forbidden Fiber Co in here. Just all sorts of things from Stash. The fabric is 28 count Phantasm from Atomic Ranch. And the other thing I did was I'm using beads instead of French knots. And that's why there's these hanging white threads, because I'm beading as I go. Because it was called for in French knots, right? The French knots would have sat on top of the other stitching, but the beads need to have a home. And so I'm making it up as I go, using my best judgment as I stitch. So you can see the little white beads. Look at that cauldron and that pumpkin. Oh, so good. I just started. What I worked on a couple days last month is I finally chose this dark purple color here. I think this is Classic Colorworks Razzmatazz. And then I finished part of this book and filled this in, and then I'm starting working my way up her skirt, and I did a little bit more work on the witch's hair. And that cat needs a hat and some facial features because he kind of looks special. And I think, oh yeah, this is all finished too. And there's a moon, I think. But I think once the back stitching goes in on that smoke swirl, it's going to be super awesome. But yeah, it's good, isn't it? I really like her stuff. Anyway, floss. Next, this is from Stitchy Prose. This is called Stitchy Witchy Bell Pull. I wish I could remember what the fabric is that I'm stitching it on, but I received this pattern and the flosses and the fabric from Michelle from Bendy Stitchy as part of a kitted up swap that I participated in last year. And so I was super excited to get this. I love this when it was released, and put it on that list of things I wanted to buy someday, and hadn't bought yet. And then I didn't have to. So here's where I am. I can't remember what this fabric is, but I know it's a 40 count and it's really pretty. I'm stitching it so far. All the black is in DMC. It's étoile, so it's the 310 étoile. And I also, Michelle sent some random other flosses to pick. The called for is Classic Colorworks. I want to say it's like Black Coffee and Rainy Day, so just a black and a purple. She sent some other colors as potential options for highlighting. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I have a ways to go on stitching all the black, so I don't think I need to make that decision anytime soon. But it's going to be so cool. This fabric is perfect. It's like old looking. It's got a little bit of interest. All the colors are there. So this is Stitchy Witchy Bell Pull from Stitchy Prose. I'm counting this as a Halloween piece because it's called Witch's Road. This is Witch's Road by Jed X Stitch. This is also a free pattern available on her, it's on her Ko-fi, whatever the heck it is. I think that's where it's free. And here's where I am. So the reason this she released this for free because she didn't stitched it with, you know, a random stash floss, which some I think were limited edition you couldn't get, and also some DMC. My fabric is called Winter Musings. It's by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. It's a 32 count Lugana. I don't know if it's available, but as you can see, it's just a pretty forest green. It's and then this is my floss. I've got a mix of Closet Colorworks, and this is a Karen Water Lilies and some Forbidden Fiber Go. And I haven't decided the bead situation yet. So there are beads. However, I know she stitched hers on 40 count and this is 32, so I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But worst case scenario, I might just sub random beads that I have. I think in the pattern, it was like a purple bead and a green bead. I have a random assortment of beads from various mill hills. I might just, you know, do whatever. But I'm going to stitch it all first and bead it at the end. It's so beautiful. So good. Next, we've got a piece. I got this in a magazine, but I know you can get the PDF now. This is Happy Halloween from Autumn Lane Stitchery. It was in one of the Just Cross Stitch Halloween issues, but I know you can, I think you can get it on their website and on their Etsy now. They released it maybe last year. And here is where I am. I got a lot done. So the called for fabric is murky. And you were meant to stitch, like there's a border, right? And then you were meant to stitch in the inside to make it look like the moon. I didn't have any murky and I didn't really feel like doing all that stitching. So this is, I think, Creme Brulee from Forbidden Fiber Co., which I think looks like what the stitching is meant to look like. And I think it's going to be great. I think it already looks great. And then hopefully I'll frame it in like a little round frame and it'll look like he's in the moon and I don't really worry about the rest of it. That's my plan. I would like to finish this month as well. This one I feel like I could knock off if I, you know, gave it a good 4 or 5 days and get him off the list. The rest of them have a lot of stitching left. I feel like that one might have some of the least stitching left. All right, this next one, there's barely any stitching on it, so it's definitely not getting finished anytime soon. This is October by the Cricket Collection. And I also saw this at Shepherd's Bush when I was there a couple years ago and bought it. I bought the fabric. I bought the, it's got one, oh, what's it called? Thread gatherer, maybe? It's got a fancy silk in it. So I bought the silk, I bought the fabric, I bought the beads, buttons, and then I'm going to do a random, I'm going to stitch some with the called for and then, you know, whatever I've got conversion. And here's where I am. So again, this is a little bit anticlimactic. I started in the middle and I've got that house started and that's it. I'm pretty sure this got one day, maybe October, one day in October last year. It's going to need a lot of work. So nothing exciting there. Speaking of a pattern that's going to need a lot of work, this is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I really like this. I should have worked on this last month and I didn't pull it out. Come to think of it, there was a 29th in the month of March. So this was my Leap Day start last year. I had Leap Day start FOMO, wasn't going to start anything, and then the day of, I was seeing everybody's epic Leap Day starts on Instagram and was influenced and decided that this is what I was going to do. And so there was no planning. This is the fabric. This is 40 count Dusty Cottage from Bestitch Me. And I started in the middle and I'm going to fold this back up so y'all can just see what I've stitched rather than looking at this giant piece of fabric. I think it's called for in needlepoint silks and DMC. I am doing a conversion, but an unplanned conversion because I don't have it all figured out yet. And so this is a mix of DMC and probably Classic Colorworks. You can see like that's definitely an overdyed. I'm pretty sure the black's just 310. And then I'm just going for it. I think it'll be fun, right? I need to get a move on. This is never getting finished in 4 years at the rate I'm going. That's okay. I'm just happy to have it started. Next is this one. Don't be scared. I don't remember who the artist is, but this is a piece of art that was charted in a Just Cross Stitch magazine. And here's where we are. Ooh, that purple is bright. It is Flapper by Picture This Plus. It's Ada, right? Might be 14 count Ada. It is not as blue as it's showing up in camera. It's a little bit purpler than that. I worked on this a few days because I also really want to get this done. I'm gonna show you. This is obviously as big as gonna be. I stitched all this full coverage over here. I've worked on that, and then brought these trees up. This was my, oh, I stitched on this when I was watching, there's a new show on, I think it's on Netflix, it's called The Residence. It's like there was a murder in the White House sort of thing, but it's like quirky and fun. And the main actress who's playing like the detective is like a birder. It's really fun. If you liked Knives Out, it feels very much like quirky in that vein, but then also even more. I'm terrible at describing this. Anyway, it was delightful, and I stitched a lot on this while watching it. So I got to finish this giant moon, so you can see I've got bringing the moon up. So this is all the moon, and then the rest of these trees need to get stitched in, and then I just need to fill in some of the little bits that I've forgotten down here, like got Batman here, needs the rest of his costume and what have you. So this also realized yesterday when I was fussing around, fits in an 8x10 frame. So, and I have an 8x10 frame that's perfect for it, which is not readily accessible without me getting up. So as soon as this gets finished, I can frame it and be done with it. And that's also very exciting. All right. And this is my last Halloween WIP. I hope you're excited. It is Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. I started this with Jen from Jen's Fiber Web, I think in April of last year. I know we started it on the 13th. I can't remember, but we started it together. And here's where I am. It's coming along. I'm stitching it. This is 36 count Vintage Country Mocha, I'm pretty sure. And it is mostly the called for with a couple subs, mainly that I subbed the black for something that's not the called for, and it was too close to Garden Gate, which is the gray. And so they're supposed to be like this part of the border and like some of the flowers are supposed to switch back and forth, and I'm not switching, if that makes sense. If you've seen the pattern, you know what I mean. And then I haven't decided what to do about the house yet, because I'm pretty sure the house is in an overdyed and it's like patchy, and I don't have the right one, and I don't like the way the DMC looks on my fabric. So I have not decided what to do about the house yet. But it's got all these funky little windows in it. So I've decided what I'm going to do is just stitch everything but the actual house itself. And then, I mean, I have a lot left to go before I need to worry about it too. But it's so good. So good. All right. So those are all my Halloween / spooky WIPs. And you're going to get to see them all probably again next video as I've worked on them. So I think I've only worked on 3 of them so far this month, and that is Away We Ride, Don't Be Scared, and Enchanted Quaker. So the rest of them all need to get a day or so in order to, moving them over there, they're all a plan to get a day or so. So it's going to be a fun month. Okay, so those are all the WIPs. I do have a couple new starts, and then let's talk about plans. So my first new start I'm going to show you is from the Cross Stitch the Rainbow collaboration. I bought a few of the patterns that were released in this version. The theme was Night Garden, and I was able to start one. I've got it right in front of me and I can't think of the name of it. It's the owl. Is it called Night Owl? We're going to call it Night Owl, and if I'm wrong, it'll say the correct thing here. This is by Stitchy Prose, and here is what I've got. Look at that cute little owl. This is 28 Count Phantasm by Atomic Ranch. I think it was perfect for these gorgeous flosses. These are all the threadworks that form the color palette that all the designers used. And I mean, this is going to be really, I think, a very quick finish once I think a couple more days and this will be done. I don't think it's going to come back out this month, but how cute is he? Also, I believe they're all on either on her Patreon or they're all on the Cross Stitch the Rainbow website, but Michelle from Bendy Stitchy put together a bunch of borders. If you wanted to stitch, well, there's singleton borders, so if you just wanted to put a border around your one pattern that you stitched, you could do that, but also some layouts if you want to stitch multiple patterns in one piece. So I will link that down below if I remember. Otherwise, Michelle Bendy Stitchy, go watch her Flosstube. I think she's talking about it. She talked about it there too. All right, so that was a start. And then I had one more new start. We're going to go back to Christmas. So I have 2 WIP Go boards, one of which is a Jingle Ball Bauble book inspired board. Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe also has a board. She made her board. I took what I liked that she was also stitching, or what I wanted to stitch, kept those, added some other things. And so we have a overlapping board, and then I have added some other things because I had some other Christmas smalls kitted up and I wanted to stitch some of the baubles that she didn't want to stitch, so it worked out. So anyway, here's where my bauble WIP Go board currently is. Anything that's in yellow is finished. Anything that is in green has been started. My goal is just to start. It's not necessarily necessary to finish, but some of them are so small they're just getting finished. And then if it's in red, it's been called because we've got new ones from whatever month we're in now. The April calls have been made and I have not started any of those yet. So what I started since I last saw you was a pattern by Pansy Patch. And also, so just so you know, like I don't have nice photos of these because they are all just, well, not all, but mostly just in the books. I think some of them have been released, but not all of them. So this is With Love and Help by Pansy Patch. And here's what I got started. Got that little deer done and a little bird on his head. I decided that I'm going to stitch a lot of these with the same floss, which is this mix of Classic Colorworks. And I had this gold will make, I think it's from a different pattern. And I'd pulled like I had like a scrap written piece of, this is Latte from Fiber on a Whim, I think. And so a lot of them are getting stitched on the same fabric because I have a bunch of it and they all needed a neutral. And then I'm just using this and looking at what the called for is and making it work. So that was my other new start. And then with that, because we're here, and I will move right into my Bobble WIP Go plans for April. So the numbers that were called are 4 and 10. And 4 is this pattern from, I think it's Heartstrings, no. Yeah, from Heartstrings Samplery. It's called Jingle All the Way. And it is really straightforward. It's got 3 colors, and she stitched hers on red fabric. I don't have any red fabric, so my plan is to stitch it on green. So I'm going to stitch it on this. This is Winter Musings from Forbidden Fiberlicious. This is the fabric I used for Witch's Road. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the letters in black. The gold, obviously the bells will stay in gold. And then you can see there's like the ribbon that the bells are on. It was in green. I'm going to stitch it in red. So I think my plan is to use, this is Goldfinch from Forbidden Fiber Co. I don't have my black here, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to use Black Coffee, or I might use 310. And then this red is Hollyberry, which will show up beautifully on the screen. So that's what we're going to do for that one. That one should also be pretty quick, I would think. And then my other call is not from the Bobble Ball book, but it's this Mill Hill kit. And I'll put a picture in here because I can get a picture online, because I think this is going to, yeah, I'm not taking this out. So you saw the picture there. It says Baking Spirits Bright. I am considering changing the colors a little bit, and maybe making it more, basically I would change something to pink and maybe the blue to more of a turquoise to better fit some of my holiday stuff. But I don't know yet. I might also stitch it just as is, because whatever. But that is also a start for this month. So those are my WIP Go plans for the Bobble board. For regular WIP Go, Silhowitches Quaker was called, which I showed you earlier. Still, that one just might not get stitched if I can't sort out the floss. And I don't know if I'm going to get the floss figured out this month. Although we are going to Portland in a couple weeks, so I could make a quick run over to Acorns and Threads and see if I can get that planned out. But we'll see. The other planned new start I have for WIP Go, or excuse me, this is not a start, it's already started. The other WIP Go plan that I have is to work on Autumn Flowers by Owl Forest Embroidery. So this was the other number, on the other number that got called. And this should get 3 days, which is a lot of days with all of the other WIPs I want to work on. So let me show you where I am, because I did make good progress on this. At least I feel like it was good progress. I'm trying to figure out where the top is right now. Okay, there's the top. So this is stitched on a, who's the dyer? Oh goodness, Mystic Fabrics in Please Scream Inside Your Heart. And I'm using the Owl Forest overdyes. So this is one of my oldest WIPs. I started this in like 21 or 22, I think. It's clearly not going to get finished this year. There was a year or so when I worked on it like one day. So, but I did put a lot of effort into it last year. That is like a quarter-ish done. And it's a lot of color changes, and that border is fiddly. So part of the reason why it's taken forever. But it's really pretty. And the overdyes are just lovely. So that will get some days. It might not get all 3 days, but it is on my WIP Go board. That one might be one of the ones that's on my WIP Go board. 3 days. Yeah, it's a 2021 WIP. It's on my WIP Go board 3 times, 3 days each. So it's supposed to get 9 days as part of WIP Go this year. And if it doesn't get it this month, I will work on it another day. But yeah. Okay. So I think that's all. Let's see, WIP Go, sorted. Stitch for Pride 2025, that will be a new start. And then my only other planned new start is this. This is All Souls Veerlanden by Quiltify Designs, and which will be another Halloween WIP once it gets started. And I did decide, thank you folks for your feedback on the floss, I am going to use the darker one. So this is the fabric. This is Catacombs by Stitch Me's 40 count, I believe. And I'm going to use this from Forbidden Fiber Co. This was a oops skein, so there's a lot of it. And I feel like they look like they were made for each other. So good. You can't get this, so it's number 116. It doesn't, which means nothing in the grand scheme of things. So I need to take the skein apart and turn it into manageable, usable thread. And hopefully won't end up with a rat's nest like this. What is going on? Oh, and there's somehow this has now gotten attached to this. Oh my goodness. That was a skein of Mosale silk that I just mucked up horribly and just sits over there and taunts me. I'm hoping I don't need to get any more of it out in order to finish the piece I started with it, but when that happens, I will deal with that monstrosity one of these days. But anyway, this is a planned new start, possibly for Dark 13 stitching or someday in the next week or so. What is going on? Oh, that's just a piece of thread. This is really pretty fabric. All right. That is, I think that might be all I've got. I did have a piece of haul, but I left it in the other room. And it is just a pattern that I got at there was a vintage thrift flea market sort of thing at the local fairgrounds last weekend or the weekend before. And there was cross stitch. There was one booth that had two, milk cartons, like the plastic bins full of charts. I only bought one. But if folks were like, if you wanted like old Paula Vaughn, or there was a lot of Shepherd's Bush, and like, Leisure Arts leaflets, tons of those. I've just bought one Shepherd's Bush leaflet, which I will put a picture of here because I left it in the other room. A cute Halloween one. I feel like if there was nothing else there that I wanted to buy or stitch, but it was literally like I've never seen so much like nice cross stitch at a flea market. So it was kind of amazing. I hope that you're having a great week. And if you were got out and protested yesterday, I'm wearing my RBG earrings, protesting from my house today. And I don't have any. Oh, there was a new. Words, Elizabeth. A new charity cross stitch pattern release yesterday, or maybe Friday, I don't remember, but charts for I think it was called Cross Stitch for Gaza. They have a Instagram page, and you can, I think if you donate $15, you get this whole bundle of charts. I will put something here and a link down below if you are so interested. Other than that, I am going to go do some yard work, and then I'm going to come back in the house and edit the crap out of this and hopefully get it posted tonight, and you'll all see it tomorrow. I got nothing else, except now I'm rambling. Happy stitching, folks. I will see you in a few weeks. Thank you. Bye.